timing.
Okay. You're live now. Start greeting, she said.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello. For those who are joining us, we are going on our second podcast with
Yes.
Ima, and we are going to dig more today into another important topic, which is related to the Montessori education. To all those who are concerned by education, who would love to learn more and to dig more into Montessori education. Every month, we aim to give podcasts. And for this podcast, it will be about the prepared adults. Yeah. So we are going to invite our guest for today. Is a special guest. I would love to introduce her briefly, but it's you briefly, Miss Mala, for all the work we have been doing. I think it's hard really to brief it up because when I was really reading your autobiography and reading all experience you have been through, it's really, and so I hope that all our audience will benefit from this session, will attend to understand how is it important to prepare ourselves as adults to enter the Montessori class and to be effectively and positively impacting the children in a Montessori setting. So our guest for today is Ms. Mala. And briefly to introduce Ms. Mala, really a great experience into and expertise into the Montessori curriculum and precisely into early childhood education. She has trained, coached, and mentored adults and children in Australia, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand, and for the last 46 years in the corporate and educational environment. So this is a great, really honor for me to be with you and to also from you, as you have more than 46 years of experience.
So experience.
So I guess you are
Thank you.
prepared.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Salma. It's a real honor to be here as well and to share knowledge. As you know, I have been a long journey of life because I'm many years of learning, and it's a pleasure to be in this platform.
Yeah, the pleasure is ours, and especially that you are already conducting workshops with us. So it's highly important we highlight this point. So it's also great to learn more through this chit chat. We are going to chit chat together to
Okay.
as let's say an experienced Montessori guide, Miss Mala, and a coach, and as a 6 to 12 Montessori guide, Salma. Hello, for those who don't know me.
Salma.
So we are yes, we are going to talk more. And so the point here is that we are going to elaborate on paired ads, and I would love Ms. Mala to highlight the fact that you also have a mental health first aid certification in Melbourne. You are
Yeah.
currently an instructor for mental health first aid, an international licensed program in Malaysia, and you initiated the MDC training and management that educates those working in their role as educators, corporate leaders, staff, and even policymakers. So the fact that you are into the mental health and into the, let's say, the psychological preparation and the important mental preparation is really a key point to talk about the prepared adults. Because I don't know if
Yes.
you agree with me or not, many would
Yes.
think like Montessori is only about the prepared environment.
Yeah.
What do you think about
Yes.
that?
Many people think that Montessori is only about the materials, the curriculum, or they just think Montessori is about play. They just play and they just, it's a preschool for play. But they don't understand Montessori is the core for mental health development during the early years. And below 6 years, as we know, the brain is developing. By five, it is 95% developing as well. So everyone in the environment, especially the adult, need to address this issue of mental health during the early years.
Mhm.
Many traumas, many educators, if you do many techniques, they will all bring you back to the early years. Because the early years is where the child is absorbing everything from the environment. So the adult is really an important role they play. So
Yes.
if the adult is not prepared, the environment is not only prepared, the adult also needs to be prepared. That's why it's a very prepared environment as well as the child to able to understand the child. It's very, very psychological. To me, it came to a big light when through my own experience having a neurodivergent children, a child with a mental illness, that early years impact was really affected my children. So that's why I'm very passionate, and I want educators as well to be really alert on how you prepare yourself to be with a child.
Yes.
Psychologically, if you're not ready, how
We
are you
can.
going to help the child?
Yes, I totally agree. And especially for those getting into the training and getting to focus more on the material and the presentations. Um, from a humble experience, as I have been through that, I mean, the first focus we would have is, oh, we are hammered by a lot of presentations and we need to know
Yeah,
how to present and the details and how to present it. And we prepare our albums and we are rushed into that. And
exactly.
we forget the theory. And really, right now, throughout the humble experience I have, the theory is the album for practice. It's because once you understand the theory, you could even make your materials, you know. And also highlighting on what you said, of course, it's important to work on the psychological preparation of the child, and recently, many research have been showing like there are some childhood traumas. And if you are not really well guided by prepared adults and who could really help you into this path, there are some childhood traumas that we will need to work on once we grow up. So
Yeah,
that's why I think it's really important we unveil this topic and we explain it from its larger perspective to the audience to understand that Montessori is not only material, but it's also a prepared adult.
environment. Yeah.
Yeah. So, from this point, why do you think that the adult's inner preparation is just as important as the classroom preparation? We have been highlighting like it's necessary to prepare, but why is it important to prepare and this adult? How can we do that?
See, when we prepare the Montessori environment, structure, calm, and if the adult in the environment doesn't practice calmness and doesn't understand their emotion, and a child absorbs your emotion, especially children who are neurodivergent sensitivity children with sensory overload can sense you very, very well. So if, let's say, even to the minute order, that's a Montessori is, we micromanage everything. We know, not macro, we look into every aspect. Let's say if a teacher comes with a strong perfume, for example, and
Mhm,
comes into the class, if the child is sensory overload and he cannot get the smell, so he will have a behavior problem, might probably even trigger into a meltdown. So
mhm,
everything the teacher or the adult, we call the guide, the facilitator or directress, will have to look into themselves, their inner self. They need to learn how to regulate. Maybe as all of us, we have a lot of emotions, and when we come into this environment, Montessori classic way, once you step into the environment, everything has to be thrown away.
mhm,
Everything has to be there. You have to come with an empty mind and focus 100% on the child and the environment. So you cannot bring in, maybe you have a lot of stories, no nothing. Just be in the moment, be mindful. We talk about mindfulness in a great extent in the psychological field. Montessori, already 150 years old, valued mindfulness.
Yeah.
When we give presentation, we have to be mindful. We
Yes,
have
that's
to be,
true.
and we have to be grounded, because if
Mm.
we are not grounded, we are not mindful, the child will not could not concentrate, cannot focus, because you are distracting the child. So we manage the micromanagement itself, that the teacher or the guide must have embrace a calmness, inner self. Whatever they have to work, they have to not only help the child to regulate emotion, they also must learn how to regulate their own emotion. So
Yes.
everything that they do is important, and not make it into a trigger.
That's
So that's,
absolutely. Mhm. I do agree, yes. And children, they notice, as you said, Miss Mela, everything. And you are a model. We should also highlight for the children that in a 6 to 12 environment, for example, even in a 3 to 6, the children see you as a model. And so you are as a model. And once you think about that, personally, I do have a lot of responsibility. Like, okay, I should act as a model. So even if I feel like I'm tired, I'm really overwhelmed, we try. Okay, I would say between quoted mark to put another mask, but it's
yes,
for the benefit
yes, yes,
of the kid.
yes,
Yeah, and it's also important, if you agree with me, that we say we know our mental capacities as adults,
yes,
how much we can undergo. Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So,
So
how is it manifested in your work with kids, for example, even with your children? How do you, for example, highlight to the children that you are overwhelmed today, you cannot help that much? How would you say it so the children can really develop also the sense of empathy? This is also another way to help them doing it.
yes, yes. So empathy is actually the key for the early childhood discipline of thinking, because if you cannot empathize of the child, and making the child understand what you are going through as well. So as a young child, they might not understand, but you can remain calm. You
Mm,
can say that you can be in your space and respect, at the same time you respect the child's space,
yeah,
and the trust the child must have in you. So if
yes,
the child knows, today I have something going on, and the child understands you. So you got to build a bond and trust. Trust has to be built during the earliest, and the only person that can do is the adult in the child's life, including the parents, including the caregiver, including whoever in their life. Trust is an important issue. If they don't trust you, there is no bond, it's very difficult to work with them. Agreed or
yeah.
not, Sama?
Yeah, yeah, I do. And that's why maybe to answer one of the questions is like the kind of mindset we should have where, as expected Montessori guides, is to have the gain of trust, is to establish this bond and to help these children trust you. So this is one of the mindset that we should have as Montessori adults. But we also mentioned the sense of empathy. Can we add other points to the mindset as Montessori adults? What kind of mindset should I come to the class with?
The important element of a Montessori, as Maria Montessori, as you see in the book, if you read through her books, she talks about observation.
Mhm.
You have to, she will say that we have to look at it in a scientific way. You have to have a you are like a scientist. You got to observe the child. You got to see the child's moods, when the child is when is the child is able to perform, when the child doesn't. Some children are morning people, some children are afternoon people. So the mindset, like a traditional school, it's the same mindset. Everybody learns the same. In the
Yes,
Montessori environment, the teacher has to have this mind, and a lot of people think it's a challenge, but through practice and through understanding, this makes you also a better person. You can work in any environment if you have this Montessori mindset. The mindset is to be in the moment, to regulate your emotion, and to observe the child regularly, to understand where the child comes from. So if the child, for example, is not ready today to do work because he's got so much going on, if it's in a traditional school, you'll make the child do it because you've got no choice, because you have to make the target. You have to report to that you have done so much work. But in our Montessori system, we respect the child's thing. So the Montessorian mindset must be ready or prepared to understand this child is not ready for today. The
yes,
child is not ready. So we always use the word seduce the child. We do the
yes.
seducing, we have eye contact, make the child relax, and then bring the child down. That's why we like to sit on the floor where the child is grounded. So that Montessorian must understand how to ground, how to have a positive mindset. Everything negative we change into positive, because in a positive, like they talk about cognitive behavior therapy, about changing, we do it all the time in the Montessori environment. When we are presenting, if the child is not able, he makes mistakes. Like I had an episode the other day, I was online doing my work with another child and he was making a lot of mistakes. If
Mhm.
I'm a traditional person, I'm saying, oops, no, it's all wrong, we do it all over again. I said, oh, very nice. You have done something creative, wonderful. Child was like, wow, I want to do more.
Yes,
That
yes.
mindset is important.
Absolutely. The mindset of all what you mentioned here, we can link it to the Montessori principle also, which is a friendly error. And Montessori highlighted the point that all mistakes are really appreciated once they are dealt with in a creative way. And we learn from our mistakes. And that's why we have also the material that helps the children to self correct. We also have our attitudes as adults, how we treat mistakes or errors, and how to make children understand like we learn from our mistakes and from our errors. Yes, this is one of the important mindset we should have also. Yeah. And how about like I'm let's imagine like I've never been into the Montessori class, Miss Mala. I'm not
Mm.
really a Montessori guy. I've never ever stepped into a Montessori environment, never talked with children. I don't have any experience. I got into the training, and my training was very intense. And it's my first year as a Montessori guide in a class. Okay. So,
Mm.
what's the first thing that I should come to the school, or the first mindset I should put in my mind once I start my career as a Montessori guide?
As a Montessori, I think the first thing you got to check is your environment, to make sure the environment is structured, everything is what we call it like very peaceful, calmness, and then you go in with very calm composure, because what you are is what the children will be. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
like, when I do my lectures, everybody say, can we bring Miss Mala to the classroom? I say, you don't bring me to the classroom, you bring the calmness. How do you calm yourself? So when I'm in a classroom with children, I come to the level of the child. I be in the moment of the child. I have no ego. I have no thinking I'm the teacher now. I'm going to control this classroom. I don't have this. I'm humble enough to come to the level of the child, be with the child, and try to get the child's trust and belief that I'm here. This is a safe space for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I also have a lot of presentations, and I had my trainings, and I got these presentations. So, what am I supposed to do? I
Yeah,
don't
that's a
teach these
very
kids.
interesting one.
I just follow the kids. And how about the presentations? I'm working hard on really writing my summaries about what am I supposed to do? And they have parents. By the end of the year, they would be telling me, my child cannot read and write. Help me, Miss
They
Mala.
This is an interesting one because many of us we graduate and we come with the file thinking about when to start, how do I present, what do I do, and some give up and say this too much. What I learn and what I practice doesn't match. And if the school doesn't practice, the school also must have a uniform practice. To everybody has to be in the same page. So your presentation, whatever you do, you put it in the shelf, and the other thing you need to do, most importantly, is to gain the bond and trust. If you
Mhm.
don't have that, your presentation will not work. So
Yes,
if
that's
you
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want your presentation to work, you have to learn the psychology first. Once you have got it done, empathy, psychology, being in the moment, grounded, then you bring in whatever you have learned, and then you can do the step by step. Even that, when we do in the theory and we do in the practical, is different because every child is different. We are only learning one method of presenting, right? So when we see every child will present differently, everything, everyone, it is a bit challenging for a new teacher to see that the mechanism, but through experience, I'm sure Salma, with you, with your years of experience, you learn so much. For me, it
Yeah.
took me so many years until I decided to become a trainer, so I teach everybody how to do it instead.
Yeah. And as I said before, it's an endless journey. I mean, we never say like we are prepared. I think you agree with that. I mean, we are talking, yes, about the prepared adults because there are as a kind of mindset we should endorse, the theory that we should also take into consideration, the principles of Montessori that we should also know, the training. But if you agree with me, can you say like we are prepared? Or is it like an endless journey? We are never ever prepared.
I think Montessori is a journey that you learn. Even for me, I'm so many years and I'm much older person. It is a never-ending journey. It every time, every class, every presentation is all totally different. It's never the same. Why? Because people are different.
Yes.
Children are different. People are different. Teachers are, and I've been with many cultures in Thailand, Indonesia, Australia. Everyone was different, but the Montessori philosophy methodology was the same.
Mm-hmm.
But people are different, but you learn through their culture, through their adaptation. So we Montessorians, actually the adult, can live in any country. As Montessori says, we can adapt. Animals cannot adapt, right? Remember that theory of adaptation. So we can adapt as adults. So being a Montessorian, we can adapt in any environment. I feel even in corporate environment, because we think on the feet, we have to be in the moment, and we are always thinking of crisis. If there's a crisis, we must be able to solve the problem. So problem solving is really in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Anything is possible, right?
Yes, everything is possible,
Possible.
definitely. And the word you highlighted to be adaptable, yes, we are born as adaptable human beings. And it's important also, I think, to highlight the mindset of being adaptable as an adult. Because sometimes you may come from another culture and you enter to another culture in your class and you try to bring your own culture to the class, which is totally different from the culture of the class in itself. And here you get
Exactly.
into a kind of really correlation, it's a bit hard. And the kids feel that. So, and I think throughout my humble experience, I've been teaching also in different countries. And yes, it's important that you also endorse their culture and try to understand the culture of the country they are living in. This makes you closer to them and helps you really to create the bond, as we said. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
very true.
Can you mention other techniques to use with the kids to create the bond, to make them closer to us, to gain their trust, let's say, from the first week's school?
Yeah, so it's the safe space as well. You have to give space to the child. So if the child, you don't rush and said you got to finish this on time, you give them the space, because every child learns differently. So the adult in the environment must understand and adjust everything accordingly to the child's needs, not
Yes.
rush the child to the and create anxiety. So once the child is anxious, he cannot focus, he cannot concentrate, disaster. Can you
Mhm.
imagine the class? And one child learns from another child behavior, it will be a contagious thing. So the adult has to learn the technique of understanding when, where, and how can we work with the child.
Yes.
Very important.
Yeah. In Montessori, they simply, sometimes when you ask some people, what do you know about Montessori? The first thing they would come up with, follow the child, you know? So, from this point, how does the adult balance guiding the child by stepping back and following the child? How can we make the balance of following the child, but at the same time gaining much trust in him to get him to have own independence?
In order to do that, first thing, we must understand the child. In
Mhm.
order to do that, we must understand the child. Is the child having, is he a neurodivergent? Is he having some signs of oversensory load? Or is she just a child growing at his own space? So once you have understood that, you have won a big battle, because you already know what the child is able to, his ability. So you must understand the ability. The technique is the adult has to learn to have, what would you say, um, non-judgmental. That's the
Yeah.
word. They have to be non-judgmental. Just because a child is hyperactive, oh, he's ADHD, cannot do anything, just run, 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 cannot focus. They must learn a technique of how to calm them down. Montessori materials are fantastic for this, slowing down the anxiety level. So the adult must learn that what are the things that we can provide to bring the anxiety down. So
Yeah.
once your anxiety is done, then you develop the focus, the concentration, independence follow through. Then you bring in your academic way. Fantastic. You can, this method will work like anything else. But
Yeah.
if the core of this is not met, and if the adult cannot understand this, then it's very, very challenging.
Yeah. So if I have well understood, we follow the child in a way that we try, first of all, to understand the child and to understand the timing. When should I intervene? When should I not? And not to rush just giving judgment, but to be based on observation. That would help you to follow the child. Did I wrap it well?
Exactly.
Did I miss a
Yes,
point?
very
Okay.
good.
All right, great. But also, when we talk about Montessori, we also talk about the way of teaching in Montessori. It's quite different, for example, and it helps not only the child but also the adults self-regulate. For me, for example, I did not choose 3 to 6 because the movement when you give the presentations is very slow. You know, you pour from one glass to another, the
Yes,
way you
yes,
walk. This really, we had like one 6 weeks foundation. It's for 3 to 6 foundation. And during these 6 weeks, personally, I felt a strong change. I'm not a person who is used to do things very slowly, you know. Uh, so during these 6 weeks, we learned how to really calm down, take your time, to pour things slowly, to walk slowly, and this changed even our way of behaving, our way of talking, our way of walking, our way of interacting with others. So, don't you think with me that Maria Montessori has studied everything from a scientific point of view,
yes,
even the way of giving the presentation?
yes. Very, very true. That's why you can be calm. That's why they ask me, when I touch the Montessori materials, automatically my whole system will calm down. I'm really
That's
at the level of the child. That is years of practice. It doesn't happen overnight. Yes or not, Sama? We just don't come out of teaching practice and then we become that level. It's over the
Yeah.
years and practicing, and we are learning in the process as well.
Yeah, it's also the self motivation to improve. Also, Miss Mala, if you are
Yes,
also guided that there is something out of you that you would love to make it to its high potential, and you would love to do the best you can to for the sake of these kids, I'm sure you would be able to benefit from the training, change you completely to another person quite different than the one you already know.
yeah, yes, it does. It does change you, and it does. Montessori is not only about the child. I always will say it's not about the curriculum. It's not about the environment alone. It is about you. You will
Mhm.
change, and if you are ready to put on the Montessori hat, and you are ready to bring down your ego, humbleness, and look within yourself and want to learn more. You keep learning more, the positive thinking will change you and it'll make
Mhm.
you a better person. So I will always say, with all the stress that I'm going through, I'm like this is because of the Montessori training. I will really advocate for that.
Certainly, certainly. And also to highlight like our personal experiences also reshape our way of dealing with our life. I mean, what we experience also in our life reshape our personality. So Montessori, yes, definitely it's not about material only and the preparation of environment, but also about the personality of the adults.
Yes, lagging.
And throughout these 45 years of experience, I'm sure you have a personal story to tell us to highlight how being a prepared adult impacted you in your Montessori practice. Maybe you have experienced something that really showed like, okay, you are well prepared in the way that you handled the situation. I'm sure you do have many personal stories, but if you want to pick one, which one would you share with us?
I would like to pick this one because this is my favorite, because this child really made an impact in my life. When I had a center when in 2011 when I was in Malaysia, and this child had some anxiety, some behavior problem, and it was a very sad child. So when he came to our center, it was all no, no, no. I don't want to do this. I don't want, like you asked me that question. Why? How do I handle a child with this kind of issue? So we found that he loved art. He loved painting. So my favorite art therapy is the tire therapy. You know, the big tires? We give them the tire and he kept painting. He kept painting black, red, because he was so sad. He was so angry because he had a miserable life at school. He was isolated all the time for his behavior, not for his strength. So that they never gave him his space. So we gave him his space. So he started painting and painting. And one fine day, he painted pink, blue,
Oh,
yeah, blue, beautiful colors. And that tire, we always put it in the center of the garden to show the pride of the child. That child really, because we gave the space, we monitored him, we respected him, we knew he was hurt, we knew that he was going through trauma. So many children will ask, why is this particular child given us a
hmm,
special space? So we
yeah,
say, oh, he's very tired, so he needs to relax. So that's why he's doing that. And the other children also understands, because children can learn from each other. So there was a powerful engagement. And when this child, until today, the parent told me he healed himself, the self healing so much, so you could show through the colors. So he's my favorite one to always remember, even though it's many, many years ago.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I feel.
And it's really an interesting story because even through the colors that children bring when they're drawing, we could understand the way they feel. And art also is another way to help the child express And that's why we also work on art in Montessori. And
Yes.
art is linked to nature. We take the child out to nature. It helps them self-regulate. We work on meditation. We have circle time. Uh, During the presentations, we can chit chat and give personal information about each other to get closer to the child also, and to ease the tension of being not a learning atmosphere, but it's also an atmosphere where everyone learns from each other. I'm not the
Yes,
one who holds the knowledge, I'm sharing it with you. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it's happened also. I would recommend for those who are following us and who are newly trained. Uh, in my first year, I had really to cool down, as you said, and to observe and spend much time observing really the kids. And my presentations comes second. So I really took time to prepare myself for the presentations, but I never hesitate to take my album and put it next to me on the table, and the child can see also my album. And here I also try to tell the kids, like, I don't know everything, I forgot. Can I go back to my album and let's check together? And I can get my child to read with me the albums and to tell me, oh, Selma, we need to do that, we need to do this and this and this. And so this is a process of learning, and it's also a preparation to of the child, of the adult, to act humble or to be humble. It's important also.
An important episode is when in the early years when I was teaching teachers, I used to carry the manual, and I told the teachers, I can't remember everything, and this is my album, and this is what I'm going to make sure that I'm doing the right ones for you, because I'm human, I might forget. But over the years, now I don't carry anymore because it's already ingrained with you. So the humility is really very important.
Yes, yes. And also in your story, you mentioned another important point, which is equal and equity. And we do have this in Montessori. Like some children, they would ask, why is he treated this way? We are supposed to be all treated equally. But here, Ms. Mala, I think we need to highlight this point about how the adults need to be prepared to respond to these kind of questions by the children, and how to explain to them the notions of equal and equity. So how do you think about that?
I can give you another example. Was I was assigned to work with an autistic child, Asperger's, and that child, we had to, because it doesn't have visual concept, so we had to have special effects for the child, and the whole you will never believe the power of the children, and all of them knew that I was the one taking care of this, assigned for this child, so they come and help me. So when the child is running or disappear because it's so hyperactive, everyone will say, Miss Mala, Linda has ran away, come, let's go and bring Linda back. So we work as a team, and you explain that Linda needs more help than you, so how can we help Linda? And they're really very good. I think that's why I like the multi-age group concept, and helping each other is really a powerful thing, and it helps the adult in the environment to work better and together as a collaboration.
Mhm. Yeah, this is also important, as you highlighted the multi-age group. Even when giving presentations, we gather the children according to the different age group and different skills, so that they learn from each other. That's also highlighting in Montessori. And it's really always great, Miss Mala, to talk about Montessori. It's endless, really, to talk
Yes,
about this prepared
never.
adult. But throughout what we have highlighted, we can say like a prepared adult is someone who is humble, someone who is calm, eager to understand the child, uh,
Yes,
who believes into the child's capacity, first of all, who get guided by his scientific observation and not by his judgment, not to jump straight away to judgment, and is someone who really nurture into the children the capacity to work independently and to discover the world. right?
And
Did
to
I
be
miss?
mindful. Yes, and to be centered and to be mindfulness.
Yes,
Practice mindfulness all the time.
yeah,
Be in
and
the moment.
be in the moment. Yeah, if we could conclude, like we could say, like once you are in the environment, embrace it and be in
Yes,
it.
in it.
Be,
Yes, I
be in it. What
very
other advice you would give to adults who are trying to embody the role of the prepared adult?
I would like to give one which is sensible. That is, every adult who's working with children need to take care of themselves. Self care is very important, and you can get burnt out. You can be in the moment. You can absorb everything, but at the end of the day, you can be a big washout because you too absorb all the emotion. So
That's
you need to take care of yourself, which is any simple thing to be with you and yourself, and as Montessori said, check every day what you have done. Write something positive that you have done. Journal something down, a blog or anything. Wow, it was a fantastic day. And also write your learning, your mistakes, or what a little bit there. But self care, I would advocate that every adult should practice.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is really a precious advice to everyone, not only those into the field of education, but also to all people. Self care is really important as long as you are dealing with kids. They absorb from you and we absorb from them. So we need to take care of ourselves to be able to give more.
Yes, very true.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Miss Mala. It was really inspiring. Lovely to have this conversation with you. It was about preparing also ourselves for this journey, and being
Yeah.
a prepared adult means committing ourselves to self awareness, being self
Yes.
aware of our own capacities and our own values and ethics of work. So I hope that this podcast brings much to you. And thank you, dear, all for listening to us. Thank you
Yes,
again,
yes.
Miss Mala. It's
Thank you so much, Salma. It was an honor to listen to you, and you're a wonderful host. You
thank
really guided very well. And every one of you, you're always welcome to be in this platform.
yeah.
Thank you, thank
So
you, thank you.
stay tuned for other episodes. And thank you again, Miss Mala. Hope everyone enjoyed.
Yeah, thank you, Salma. Bye bye.
Bye bye.